up the flagpole because it was a request that I got from the minister's office, and I shared with the minister that that in fact it was going to be in the news release, and it wasn't. And so I feel really, I was very frustrated, very disappointed, and I was feeling quite disrespected by what happened today, and probably some of the stuff that's happened this week. The flow of information has been very difficult, and I respect the command triangle. I respect the protocol around keeping certain information back so that you keep the integrity of the witnesses. I've been there. I've been involved in those kinds of investigations, so I respect that. But it's been difficult. I also respect the fact that I've been involved in investigations where I get a daily sit rep. I've only gotten 2 sit reps in this entire flow of information. I only found out today that Heidi was not carbine trained, and that might have been something that we should have known as soon as some of those things come out. It was obvious to me from the beginning that the comms in Nova Scotia has not been in the loop, because when we request information, they're no further ahead than we are. So I'm just sharing how I'm feeling, because there's a lot of things that go on in an unprecedented event such as this. And I know that everybody is working their hardest to do the best they can, and I accept that. And I've been defending it all week, or all last week and into this week. I was promised a chronology on Thursday afternoon for the minister and the prime minister, and I didn't get that either. And I had to tell them that I couldn't get them a chronology of something that happened 4 days ago, with a caveat that it might have changed. But I couldn't give them a map. I didn't get a map, and I didn't get the chronology either. And so it's pretty difficult when you have to tell, I have apologized to the minister. I'm waiting for the prime minister to call me so I can apologize. And I'm telling you, it's not about me. I could care less that I have to apologize for me dropping the ball. It's about the reflection of our organization. And it's about a reflection that makes it look like we don't know what we're doing. And I love my organization, and like I said, I can take it on the chin several times. It's not at all about me. I just am saddened that people tell me that they can give me this information, and I then cannot produce it. And this has happened now 3 or 4 times in the last week. And there's been a big disconnect in the communications. And I wanted to have this conversation last week, but I don't want to hurt people when they're hurting. And I don't want to make people, I know people are working as hard as they can, but we have a responsibility. And every time we've dropped the ball on providing information, you know who's filled that gap? The media has filled the gap. Retired members who haven't been in the field for 10, 15, 20 years are filling that gap. Why? Because we are not filling that gap. So, hindsight, again, I should have probably had this conversation last week, but I didn't think that it was such a saddened time that I didn't want people to hurt more than they hurt now. But after today, I could not say anything anymore, because I felt completely disrespected by the fact that I was told that Darren was going to talk about the guns in his speaking note. And as soon as I got confirmation, I advised the minister's office, and then it wasn't there. And so I don't know what's happened, but I think we have to do better. I think we have the communication between headquarters and each division has not been good. And trying to get information, this is the first time that I've had to actually make phone calls myself to try to get information, because the people around me were also getting blocked by getting information. So I think we have to figure out how we can do better on this. And so I'm open to suggestions, and I'm going to end my conversation. I'm going to end with it and pass it over to whoever wants to speak.
Okay, well, I'll start off, and I'm sorry that you're feeling disrespected, because certainly that wasn't the intention. I'm doing a little bit of catch-up here myself, because I was on the road about the communication between the deputy and Leah and Darren this afternoon about details of what, as far as the weapons. And as far as communication, I don't disagree. I talked to the deputy yesterday about trying to come up with a way that you're updated either daily or every other day on what happened today, what's going to happen tomorrow, and so on. So we're working on that, and we've got resources in now to help with that kind of an issues management team. We've got one from J and one from B that is working with Chris and Darren. And as far as the guns and the type and what was seized and what we were comfortable saying, there's a reason for that. And do we want to expand on that?
Oh, I understand the reason. I wasn't asking for anybody. I get that. I completely understand the reason. What I don't get is that I was told that there was a certain line that was going to be used. It eventually was used in a question when asked for a question, but I was expecting it to be part of the narrative that went forward, and it was only by fluke. Had the question not been asked, nothing about the guns would have been mentioned. And I was told that it would be mentioned.
Darren, also, just to be clear, Darren is not comfortable noting the make and or models of the weapons seized. Correct.
So, hi, it's Leah. So the deputy and I had a brief conversation afternoon, so at around 12:30 our time, so 11:30 your time, in relation to the guns. So I had a conversation. I didn't. Someone from my team had a conversation with Darren and raised the request that came from the deputy. So I reached back to Deputy Brennan to confirm what the command triangle as well as Superintendent Campbell were comfortable saying, and that was semi-automatic handguns, what can be considered as assault weapons. So the deputy wrote back at around 2 o'clock to confirm. So to be clear, and in the email, Darren is not comfortable noting the make and or model of the weapon seized. I said, correct, the investigative team, including Darren. And then the second question was, will he be stating another location of the shooters was searched and was negative for any more weapons? I said he's prepared and will do his best to include this in a response on same or within his remarks. My intention was not to disrespect. I will own the fact that was not included or adjusted in his remarks.
Yeah, it's Dan here. Until almost 1:30 our time, and based on the prepping that we had done before, we were under the understanding that we wouldn't be providing any. And then we got the message from Leah's team member that the deputy commissioner wanted the handguns included in terms of number and type. And we then changed the answer, knowing that we were just literally minutes away from having the text of that loaded up for posting. So from my perspective, there was never any understanding that we would be actually changing his remarks, because those were pretty much a lock. We got the message an hour before he was going into that room. We changed the answer to, here are the number and the types, the semi-automatic handguns, and so on, like Leah just said. But it wasn't my understanding in prepping with Darren that was going to be the statement itself was going to change.
Yeah, and Darren. Sorry, go ahead. Does anybody realize what's going on in the world of handguns and guns right now? The fact that they're in the middle of trying to get a legislation going, the fact that that legislation is supposed to actually help police, and the fact that the very little information I asked to be put in speaking notes at around 11:30 this morning is when I started this, which was 3 or more hours before Darren was to speak, could not be accommodated. The fact that I asked almost 8 hours before for a chronology and a map couldn't be provided in 8 hours, but yet it could be provided on the 9th or 10th hour when it was too late, 4 days or 5 days after the event. So does anybody wonder why I feel frustrated, or I feel like I'm not being heard, which makes me feel disrespected? Is anybody seeing that, or is it just, am I being oversensitive?
It's Darren Campbell here. I just want to let you know that we had conversations with comms in and around the guns as if it was going to be a question asked. I wasn't given any kind of updated insertion on the weapons, so that never even made it into the notes that I was provided in terms of what I was going to deliver today. I didn't get any request from anybody for a timeline for this today at all, so I haven't seen.
No, not for today. This is for last Thursday. I had referred to that event because that happened to me last Thursday, where I had requested a timeline and a map. So,
well, all I can say is we worked tirelessly, all of us, on providing a proper and accurate timeline with so much information coming in and getting an accurate map with national headquarters as well, with the equipment we had, which is why we ended up with such an excellent product. I realized that there was request for it to be done Thursday, but with what we had, and we were putting all the effort in, we couldn't get it all done on Thursday, but had the product ready to go, an accurate product on Friday. And that's not because we're all sitting here doing nothing. We're trying to put it all together with a lot of information.
I would never accuse you of sitting around and doing nothing.
My point is, we worked really hard on it to meet the deadline, and we couldn't meet it with the information that was coming in and still wasn't available to provide a proper, accurate timeline at the deadline on Thursday.
Was there not originally a press conference scheduled for Thursday afternoon?
Yeah, we had to cancel it because we weren't ready. So we ended up moving it to Friday.
So how did it get to me that the little one line that I needed to be put into Darren's speaking notes, how did it get to me that one line was going to be in his speaking notes and it wasn't?
It was probably me, Commissioner, because I don't even remember who my conversation was with. It was just flying today. I went back and asked, is Darren going to speak to this? And I was told, yes. He's putting it in himself. He's going to speak to it, but they don't want it in the speaking notes because they don't want it posted. I can't even remember who told me that. And whoever told me that, it's not even relevant probably. And, you know, I took that, and then when I went back to ask Dan, is he going to be speaking about what Dan told me? But of course, because of course this is just like the biggest cluster ever, Dan said to me after, well, no, I didn't mean he was putting them in his notes. I meant he was putting them in his questions. So it all got bunged up. I don't know if it's because there were too many people inserting, like we had so many people inserting themselves. And so I take full responsibility for telling you they were in his notes. That was my understanding. I did not mean to misrepresent anything. That is what I was under the understanding that was going to happen. I was told that, and I can't remember by whom. And that person may have been misinformed as well. It's like we're playing a game with cans and a string. You know, it's very difficult, and I'm hoping Leah and I are speaking tomorrow about us sending some people out there, and I'm hoping that might help them a little bit to have, that we'll have a direct line in there. I don't know what else to say. So I take full responsibility for giving you the wrong information. I honestly thought it was the right information. So I am so sorry for that.
It's interesting because, you know, we offered up communication assistance on Sunday. We offered it up on Monday. We offered it up on Tuesday, and none of it was, nope, we got this. And to watch what happened last week, to watch the media chew us up, eat us up, and spit us out, and to watch to hear what the minister and the prime minister had to say about the RCMP's inability to communicate, I will never forget it, because I know we're better than that. And I know that we ought to have done better. And so it was very saddening for me, because I know that the people on the ground are working tirelessly, but it didn't get reflected to the outside world. It only stayed within the walls of the RCMP, and a lot of what we do needs to be bigger than us. And when you're dealing with the biggest mass shooting in the history of Canada, it's not all about us. It's about the country, and it's about the country getting information. And I said this before, when we don't give the information, look what happens. Our members had to sit and watch us get chewed up about things that we couldn't do anything about, because we did not have the proper resourcing to deal with the communications on this. And we were dealing with an unprecedented crisis within an unprecedented crisis. And so I think we have to just reflect back and think about how this can, you know, the things that we need to do better. And so I figured we got through that wave until today. And yet I got hit again, not being able to come through for the minister on the simplest of requests. I feel bad even having this conversation, because I don't want any of you to feel bad. But it's disheartening for me to try to manage our RCMP, which is bigger than Nova Scotia, and trying to at least give the Prime Minister a bit of information before he hears it on the news. That's kind of a normal course of events, and yet we couldn't do that. So there was no question that we had to cancel the media conference last Thursday, because I look at when people aren't prepared to go in front of the media, it shows, and we saw that last week in some instances. But I guess we have to figure out how we're going to move forward and be better, because I cannot let this happen again. I already have a request sitting on my phone that the minister wants to speak with me, and I know exactly what it's going to be about. And I can't even, there's not much I can say except that once again I dropped the ball. So that's going to be the fourth time I'm going to say that to him. So what are we going to do going forward?
So I am a bit perplexed because I do know that comms here and comms in Ottawa, like Sharon and Leah, are speak constantly, and we have been in conversations about relief and translators and all of that coming and being embedded with the team.
And I was quite specific.
And they can confirm exactly what they talked about, but it's recognized that comms is the area that really gets hit on something like that. So they have been working on a relief team for that. And I'm also perplexed about comms here not getting the information that they need. Our comms sits with Darren in the command triangle and all the time.
Okay, so Leah,
Yeah.
when was the first time you sat in with the command triangle?
We got together with Superintendent Campbell last Thursday.
Okay, last Thursday. The event happened on Saturday. Normally, any command triangle I've been involved with, comms is sitting from day one into the command triangle. They can't report a lot of things that happened initially, but the first time that your comms got a full briefing was on Thursday, which was 4 or 5 days after the event.
So we definitely, we talk every day. We started talking on Sunday. But embedding someone in the command triangle, no. And part of that reality is I've got a team of 4. And 2, I have a 2 IC that I can rely on, and the others perform exceptionally well at the level that they're at. So, that's,
but do you
so
think
I definitely don't feel left out. I think that I'm constantly, that's not a feeling that I have, and I would be honest and say it, and I would have dealt with it already by now, but that's not the scenario here. I think we're, so I don't know if it's the magnitude of it, the fact that there's 22 people and the site's so large. I really don't know what to say other than what I feel is that, and I've been very clear in requesting it. People on the ground, like bodies, would be wonderful. I'd love to have lots more people. I've got a ton of support from Sharon Tessier, Dan, Jolene, and they're doing everything they can, but at the end of the day, it's still pulling 20 hours a day for the small team here to actually.
And we offered you bodies. We offered bodies on Sunday. We offered bodies on Monday. We offered bodies on Tuesday and Wednesday. We kept offering bodies, and we were told, no, he didn't need them. So I don't know what we can do. We don't want you to be left alone working 20 hours a day. And then hearing on Thursday that maybe it's because you did not have the resources to be able to be at all places at all times. We got that. We know you're a small division.
So, sorry to interrupt. So, Sharon, I don't know if you want to speak in now because the email that I sent on Saturday, I think it was pretty, I thought it was pretty thorough, pretty clear.